Hi, everybody. It's Katie. I am here today with a friend of mine, Sarah Summerall, trust and estate attorney in San Francisco. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Katie. And thank you for dealing with us. So today we're going to talk about the importance of planning if you have real estate in California. So first and foremost, Sarah, can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Summerall. I'm the founder of Summerall Law, and obviously a big believer in the importance of doing estate planning, especially for those people that have real estate in California, which we'll get into the details of.
Yes. One thing I love about Sarah is that she's a mom of three and comes from a big family herself. And this type of work is clearly really important to her because it's important to have a plan for your loved ones. God forbid if you pass or if one of your loved ones passes. So with that, let's start by let me just ask you the basic of what is a will? And sometimes I get people asking, what's the difference between a trust and a will? So let's just define what it is.
Yeah, so let's kind of do like maybe the three pieces. So a will is kind of like the most basic type of planning, which says who's going to be in charge of administering my estate, the executor, and who are my beneficiaries, who's going to receive my stuff. The problem with a will is that it doesn't avoid probate. So probate is a court process in California that takes at least 1 to 2 years. The attorney is paid on a percentage fee basis. So if you have $1 million home with a $900,000 mortgage, the attorney is still paid on the percentage fee of the million, not the million minus the 900,000. So it gets really expensive really fast to pay an attorney. So that's part of the reason we just don't want to use just a will for planning purposes. If you use a trust or some form of beneficiary designation, then that's basically a document that says, I trust my trustee to go to, that they don't have to go to probate court, that they can kind of settle this on the papers. And so it's like, I'm going to send notices, I'm going to tell the beneficiaries what I'm doing. As long as no one objects, I can sell a house and distribute the proceeds or otherwise give the money to the beneficiaries that are designated in your trust. California now has a third option, which is super great, which is a transfer on deed, which is basically a beneficiary form for your house. So they are kind of limited. They're not going to work for every family, but if you have like 2 adult children or 1 child that's an adult, they have capacity, you just want to give them your house and avoid probate, you fill in that deed. It only takes a few minutes, file it with the county recorder, and it won't go through probate. So those are kind of the basic options, and whatever option you use, kind of the full set of documents is usually called an estate plan. And that's like usually your will, your trust, your beneficiary designation, and then also an incapacity plan, so your healthcare directive and power of attorney over finances in case you're incapacitated.
Okay. And in your words, Sarah, why is it so important to have a trust?
So it's different for different people, but fundamentally, I think the most important thing is that when you pass away, for the people around you, it's going to be one of the most painful times in their lives. They're going to be seriously incapacitated. Everybody is when they lose someone. And trying to put together, what am I supposed to do? Calling an attorney, going to appointments, being worried, am I doing what they wanted to do? Is just pain. It's just so much pain for their family. It's really, really hard on them. Yeah. And having just even a statement of just, this is what I wanted to happen is so soothing for people. And then the other part of it is just like the practical reality of money and time. If you have no plan, and it's gotten really complicated to kind of figure out where your money is. In the olden days, we used to get statements from banks, and after a year, you would just collect the mail at the house and you knew where everybody's money was, and you kind of had a good idea about their bills. And because everything's sent by email now, it's really not as obvious. So you need something that's organized that says, this is where my stuff is, this is who I want to go to. And then, you get all the bonus points if you also have your trust, which says you don't have to go to probate court, you don't have to get court permission. I've set this up so that you can basically just fill in some documents, sign some forms, and distribute ones.
Right. So it makes a very painful process a lot easier in the aftermath. I hold that.
Yeah.
How does someone select a trustee?
So I would say selecting your trustee is the most important choice in doing a trust. It's the number one problem with estate plans. It's the number one reason that people end up in court. Also, when I've spoken with bereavement counselors, they say it is the most painful aspect often of a trust administration.
Yeah.
So we really recommend that people at least consider using a professional fiduciary. not because they're the best people in the world or they're going to do it perfectly, but the beneficiary is going to hate somebody. It's really nice if it can be somebody outside the family. And there's a lot of like inner family squabbling that happens when one person is chosen over the other.
Yeah.
So we've developed kind of like a complex set of rules around professional fiduciaries because we want to make it easier for people to use them. So you can like name a professional fiduciary, but then still have somebody in your family who's in charge of them. They can fire them, remove them, replace them. So if that person's not doing a good job, they still have some level of authority, but they're not like directly fighting with the other beneficiaries over minor decisions. But generally, you want your trustee to be somebody who has the time to do it. The number of people who really don't have the time to do it is really high. And it's a lot of work, even if you do an estate plan. And they need to be like reasonably able to follow instructions. So they don't have to be a financial advisor or a lawyer, but they do need to be able to hire somebody and follow the advice of, okay, this person told me to do these 8 tasks. I'm going to go do those 8 tasks. And then the final thing that's really important is that they are not a conflict-oriented person. People who are conflict-oriented, you're going to end up in probate court in front of the judge, arguing about every expense on a receipt, or otherwise just really burning the other people in the family in a way that nobody wants when they do their estate plan. Like no person has ever come to us and said, wow, I really want my family to fall apart when I die.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, nobody says that, you know? So just like an easy way to just get out of that is don't leave it with somebody in your family. Leave it with somebody else that they can hate for the rest of their lives. It's not their sister or their aunt or their uncle or whatever.
That's really good advice, and it's something that I haven't heard before, like the professional fiduciary. So I'm definitely learning as well. But oftentimes, in my line of work, when we sell a home that's a trust sale, there is a lot of internal family conflict. It's really common. So that's really good advice. Thank you for that. Let's talk about probate. So I don't know about you viewers, but I had heard probate about it, but didn't know really about the process until the first time I had a client go through the process. And it's quite chaotic and painful. But can you tell everybody what is probate?
Probate court, the problem is before you can do anything, you have to wait, get in line, and get court approval and permission. So it really slows the process down. And there's just so many little hangups that courts decide. They change their rules a lot. It's like there's different judges on the bench. Sometimes it seems like daily, but at least once a year. So like the rules and policies and procedures in probate court, they're not super predictable. So it's easy for people to get stuck when the judge says, oh, I want you to do this or I want you to do that. And then they end up kicking a hearing out 6 months, or in like in Alameda, it's been a year, which has been really painful. It's starting to get a little faster now.
And just to clarify, probate is when you do not have a trust.
Yeah, you don't have a trust.
So all of your assets essentially go to the government, correct?
Well, they don't go to the government, but there's going to be government oversight of the process.
Yes.
And everything's controlled by statute in California, including the attorney's fees. So that's like, people get really upset about it. Like, oh, I just have a house. Why is my attorney making $25,000? Well, that's what the probate code says, how the attorney is paid. And there's really not, in my experience, attorneys that are going to offer to do it for less than that. And that's because there is a lot of work going on in the background, whether the client's aware of it or not.
Yeah. It sounds like you can lose a lot of time and money in the probate process. So trying to avoid that by creating a trust, right? Good. Okay. Is there anything else that you want people to hear that you think is important that we haven't already touched on?
Well, I did want to talk a little bit about our charitable project. So we're starting the End Probate project here in a couple of months. And basically, the reason we're doing that is we have had so many clients, and unfortunately, this is a problem that seems to affect the African-American community more, that they end up losing, 20-30% of the value of their estate in probate. And we could have just signed, we'd just taken 15 minutes, we would have been able to preserve all of this money for their family, or the vast majority of it for their family. So in probate, it's just like a simple online form, so you can set a beneficiary on your house. If you're a low income person of color, it's free. And for everybody else, this is a great tool for, I don't really want to do a trust today, but I want to make sure that my house doesn't go through probate. Just fill in the form, submit the address. We'll send it to you. You can notarize it, send it back, or come into one of our notary locations to sign it. And we use all the proceeds either for helping local members avoid probate or through supporting refugees with a partnership with Safe Place International.
Amazing.
So if you're going to buy one, I think it's a great place to buy one. And it's certainly a really good Band-Aid for, like, my friends call me all the time. Oh my gosh, I'm buying a house. I need a trust. I don't want, and it's like, you don't need to be in a panic about it. Do this deed and then do your trust or get your trust done. Like, the trust only usually takes about 2 to 3 hours with us, costs about $1,500 per person. So it's not a huge time commitment to get your trust done. But for people who aren't ready to make those choices, which makes sense, just do the transfer identity.
Yes, that's such a good option. Thank you for mentioning that. And I will definitely be sure to put Sarah's contact information below. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out directly and we can answer them or schedule an appointment with Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Bye.